I mean,
You know, I like this because then, you know, they take Zeri, sure, but you take Wukong.
Yeah, I mean, you get the very, but, you know, as you say, you swap it out. But I will say, if you're picking the Senna now, you got to pick the Wukong on Beichuan. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, thought I was going to be panicked there for a little bit. I was like, if they go Senna Tahm Kench right now, I'm going to scream. But it is the Wukong trade. Plus, you get the Senna, which obviously TT are saying, look, we have an answer into the Zeri. If we go to the Senna Tahm Kench, or even the Senna Seraphine, that is something we know can deal with this bot lane.
Yeah, and honestly, even if they weren't gonna pick the Wukong, I mean, even if they weren't gonna pick the Wukong here, which obviously I think they should have done, I like that they don't pick the Tahm Kench up immediately, because I feel like overcommitting into the Tahm pick when you don't know the enemy support can be a bit of a misplay, in my opinion, because we've seen times where like they'll just take Zeri, Yuumi, and look to outscale. Now, this situation, I could see you taking the Tahm. First and foremost, you're up against a Vi. Tahm does very well into Vi for obvious reasons. She ults already carry or whoever, and you can gobble them out of it. And on top of that, you're now going into the next ban phase where you can ban away things like the Yuumi to deny it from a pairing with the Zeri. So I expect TT to go towards that. I also mentioned EDG have played this Vi Ahri combo before, and Jiejie went like super ham. And the thing that I really praised was that Scout, every single time Jiejie ulted, no matter how deep he went, no matter how far he went, Scout was always able to catch up with his mobility and make sure that whenever the ult connected, there was a charm to follow. Now, obviously, Tahm Kench can disrupt that, but still, EDG definitely confident with this combo. Now, Kale, we've seen targeted to top lane. I still think that Yuumi has to be a ban.
I think it has to come out right now. You're leaving Yuumi and Zeri on the same combination. Not only that, but with Viper, again, arguably the best AD carry in the world. That is
Meiko
just going
with the Yuumi Will skin as well.
I was gonna say, and you said you wanted to see, you know, Meiko step up as a player and, you know, kind of like really kind of, you know, get improvement. You don't really need to do a lot as a Yuumi if you end up getting it picked up for yourself. So we'll see what the side of TT do end up banning last. Lissandra's been taken away. The Gwen is going to be the final win. So the Yuumi is still there. They're either very confident, very brave, or very foolish. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit interesting that they're banning away these, especially since they're the ones to counter pick. Like, I feel like you know the mid matchup, so you could just take mid for Ucal here, give Hoya counter pick, and his debut in the LPL would put you in a decent spot. But it looks like EDG obviously just banning away mid lane answers to the Ahri, and it looks like Hoya might just be going towards a Gnar, which, you know, it isn't too unexpected. I did say before we started, Gnar is a bit of a signature pick that we saw in the LCK. But you already know the mid lane matchup and you're opting to blind this top instead. Not exactly the best scenario to be in. I prefer this, if I'm going to be honest, if they go in this other direction. And they are going to take the Swain for Ucal.
Yeah, big kind of, you know, long extended fights. You think about how hard it is to kill a Senna, Tahm Kench, you know, even now the Swain, just how long these fights are going to go on, because you can't really burst out any of these targets, all things considered. You have to Devour to keep the Senna safe. Wukong is naturally tanky the more levels he gets, of course, with his passive. So these are good little picks here to pick up for TT. They're not going to get bursted out like you would expect with something like a Vi Ahri combination.
Yeah, and I think as well, when there's a lot of short-range picks from the side of EDG, Swain functions well. And obviously, Vi wants to be coming into you. Ahri can kind of play around the range with her mobility, but even so, like, you're going to check things like the Gnar. If they do come in range, you can obviously just drain them with that ultimate. Now, we'll see what Meiko opts to go here. He is looking towards the Enchanters. I thought Yuumi might end up going for the Lulu here. We'll see what they end up, and he will end up going for that one. So still going in the Enchanted direction. Just not quite the one we necessarily expected, but obviously Lulu is another pick that does sync pretty well with the Zeri. And now Hoya, his Gnar has been denied, might look towards the Gragas, which I think is a completely fine matchup into the Gnar. Obviously, as much as Gnar has the range advantage, you have decent wave clear, you have decent sustain, you can trade with him with your barrels, can set up plays when he's a mini Gnar with your cask to try and engage, and TT will lock that one in.
And again, it's just good kind of long, prolonged, you know, setup in a fight where if the Gragas is very difficult to burst down. It's a very tanky team coming out from TT where it's not going to be very easy for EDG just to pick a target and go unless they're very severely isolated. And even then, depending on who they choose, they could end up, you know, delaying them for quite a long time. So TT, they're going to be happy enough with this draft. And again, they got the Wukong, the strongest jungler on the patch right now. And for EDG, I feel like they're the ones that are going to have to be proactive, especially with this Vi pick in the jungle.
Yeah, I feel like I like TT's comp as a whole. I feel like as well the team fight's going to be really powerful. It's so hard to punish that that setup because of the Tahm. The problem I have is the Zeri, and it's not just Zeri in general, it's Viper's Zeri. He managed to get his hands on this earlier in this split after the buff, and I think that has been the strongest Zeri performance that I have seen, period. He just absolutely completely took over on the pick, consistently landing those crit Ws, really hard to punish their team fights. You have the Lulu as well to buff you, give you movement speed, give you shielding, shut down any potential threats, like a polymorph on a Wukong can be massive. So that's my concern. Ultimately, I feel like also a bit of a problem with it is that, you know, as much as we talked about Swain works well in the short range compositions, Ahri and Zeri are not easy to keep in your range. Even if you get something like Rylai's, Viper can kind of just speed outside. Scout can use his dashes to disengage. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if EDG can use those tools to deal with what TT have on offer.
We'll have to wait and see. We are jumping onto the Rift for the first game of the day and the first game in this best of 3. It is EDG versus TT. We'll have to wait and see how everything ends up running out for these two teams because, again, like we said, lots to improve for both these sides. TT, you just got to try and keep it together for longer than 20 minutes. And for EDG, it's been about, as you said, the top lane and also Meiko on the support to really kind of step up and prove again why they are the reigning world champions within, you know, the LPL and the world, of course.
Let's talk about what both teams kind of want from the early game. I feel like for TT, you're not really going to have prio in the solo lanes. So Beichuan, I expect a path down towards bot where Puff and SouthWind can offer a bit more. I do obviously double range matchup for EDG can offer them some early pressure. But ultimately, I think EDG, when I look at the Vi Ahri combo, I think you can just set up for ganks mid. If you punish Ucal early before he has the ultimate available, before he has this much wave clear, like get an early push, have the wave bounce back, and then punish him then, that's a prime opportunity to get a lead in this lane matchup.
Well, good warding here from EDG means they know exactly where SouthWind and Puff were trying to make something happen there, and this is just kind of par for the course. You do have a fairly decent level 1 coming out from the Senna Tahm Kench with the tongue lash and, of course, the Q from the Senna as well, so you can get some decent damage and healing off as well. But it's going to be a pretty standard start for both junglers as they start on the blue side of their jungles and work their way down and up respectively. So Jiejie is going to be on the bottom half of the map with Beichuan on the top. So we might actually see some bit of a kind of a separation of priorities here from both junglers.
Yeah, and I think it's the right call from Beichuan. There's a ward on the enemy red, and I think he makes a decision. You know, he knows he's not going to have mid prio eventually in this matchup, so he opts to go for to be on the opposite side of the map from Jiejie to avoid him.
We kind of wait and see. You've always set up the early game. We'll see how that ends up panning out. But I feel like if this game goes, you know, into the very late game, again, you have a Senna, you have a Tahm Kench, they will be good. But I will say, like, the mid game, the 2-item spike from something like the Swain and the Wukong is incredibly scary for TT. So EDG, they have to be wary of when and where they're starting fights. And honestly, it could be around those dragons that we really start to see both these teams look to try and gain those advantages.
Yeah, I think as well, like, dragons have been such a pivotal piece of the game at the moment with the slower paced games, with the fact that scaling has been more prevalent because, you know, durability changes, less able to punish early. We've seen a scenario where dragon fights are just such a massive factor, and being able to stack them early can make a big difference. If you're looking to scale, early dragons gives you more time. If you're looking to try and get advantages early, you want to secure those dragons to have that soul potential. We do see Scout has been kind of setting up the wave so that it's pushed towards his side of the map, and as a result, they burn that flash, and now play top.
Oh, Flandre is on the wrong side of the map. He flashes away after getting the hop back. The flash forward by Beichuan. He's got himself a dummy as well. One more auto attack should be good, but no. Hoya flashes in with the belly bop, and that is first blood to TT.
Yeah, Hoya wanted to play it safe. He does not want to wait for Flandre to potentially have the hop again. I like the flash, though, from Beichuan. He flashes away from the Q from Gnar so he doesn't get slowed. A nice first gank, taking advantage of the fact that Gnar is going to have prio in that lane. And both teams able to get off those early ganks, but obviously TT finding more favor.
Finding a little bit more failure. Now Beichuan is going to help Ucal push this one out. You know, always nice to see the jungler helping out the mid laner, especially when he is as low on mana as he is right now. Wants to try and maybe keep those biscuits for another trade sometime down the line, because it's going to be able to TP back. No real change in the mid lane there. And yeah, again, this is kind of par for the course for what we've seen for TT all split. They are a very good early game proactive team.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, as we talked about at the start of the day, it's about continuing that pace, seeing what you can do from there. You see Jiejie invading here. Bot lane has prior with that double range matchup, so
You can't do it.
yeah, it looks like he spots out Beichuan, doesn't opt to continue. It does mean they have information though for the bot lane, so Beichuan might be trying to go for something for a bot lane play, but it's just not going to work.
Nah, Viper can get over the wall here. Not really much else you can really do about that one there. And EDG will just take that priority, get themselves a reset, get themselves back out with a couple of items underneath their belt. And yeah, nothing too untoward. I will say that Flandre, after getting killed on the top side, recognized he probably doesn't want to be as pushed up as he previously was. So he's actually gone with a Cole this time around. So he's going to be a little bit more passive, looking to try and stack that up and get himself a power spike, again, around maybe the second Drake of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, we've seen Gnar be pretty monstrous up into the later stages of the game. He obviously scales really well on the side lane, able to run you down with like the Triforce. But also in team fights, I feel like Gnar has just been such a massive factor. Saw it the other day where we had that massive play from BLG when it was the stolen and moonwall combined with the Gnar ult as well. And so I think Flandre, if he can just build up a lead in this matchup, get it as he already has a CS lead, stack up that Cole, can really be a prevalent threat later on.
And let's have a look at TT as an organization, because let's be real, success has not exactly been a common thing for TT. You know, it's been a bit rough, as you say, but it is something that the only way is up. Yes, they have gotten pretty much last or very close to last in a lot of their seasons, but this is an organization that is very committed to the league. They have invested in quite a lot of young talent as well, and they tried to kind of mitigate that from last season to come now into this one with Puff and SouthWind, who are a little bit more veterans. So they are looking for success in different ways, different ventures. They're just not quite finding the set combination just yet.
Yeah, and I think, we've seen a lot of switch ups. This is a roster with, like, obviously we've seen Hoya come in as a sub. Still trying to find out what works best for them. They have, different players coming in spring. That's when we saw Ucal first. We also saw Chieftain. And I feel like they're just still trying to work out what is going to make it happen. I think Beichuan has been a fantastic addition, though, and has really thrived in trying to get them those early leads. It's just a matter of them being able to consolidate it from then onwards. And you have to take note, Jiejie able to pick up that dragon, spending a decent amount of time on the spot side, and is going to look to steal away a blue, so a trade of those. But obviously with him getting the dragon, pulling ahead in terms of those neutrals over TT, over Beichuan.
Yeah, getting a bit of a split map at the moment. We're seeing Beichuan spending a lot of time on that top side, and as you mentioned, Jiejie spending a lot of time on the bot, who's kind of par for the course when the Vi does start off at the top side of the map and moving her way down. So see what they end up wanting to go for. Again, not really expecting them to be able to go for any real dive. You have a Lulu. Yes, you have a little bit of CC with the Vi, but even at 6, but against the Tahm, Kench, Sonna, extremely difficult to actually make work. So very unlikely that we actually see that one happen. And again, EDG just happy to let this one farm up. We will see an ultimate, though, come out straight away from Viper, as he's got a little bit of a pressure point. They are pushing them back underneath the tower. Beichuan is here. EDG need to be a little bit careful. They now know it's a 3v2, possibly a 4v2. They may have to get themselves out of here as quick as they can. The Lulu ultimate is still not available, but they've backed themselves away.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like they had everything set up to make that a good play. Ucal was there. If Beichuan connects the ultimate, they even have the W from Swain to follow up and slow down Viper Meiko if they do end up flashing. So end up just not deciding to commit to the play, perhaps unsure if they could be counteracted by EDG. And now Beichuan, I think he's just dead.
Nah, I don't think he's dead just yet, because Swain is there, but he lost half his HP off of one combination. And now Scout can maybe be a bit of a nuisance here to Ucal. I will say they don't know exactly where Hoya is, so they are a little bit tentative about fully committing to a 2v2 that might not be a 2v2, and they back themselves away. And you can see already, Jiejie, why we highlighted him, why we thought the jungle matchup was so important. He is just fishing for opportunities, trying to gain priority, and he does have a little bit of it on the Vi. The Vi is very powerful, especially at level 6.
Yeah, I mean, with the ult, it really means you have to be cautious about overstepping. Just press R. There's limited amounts you can do to try and mitigate the fact that you're going to get locked down. And we've seen Scout and Jiejie working together quite a bit. Like on that invade, they know if Jiejie goes deep for a play, the Ahri can follow. Now, Viper Meiko actually going to do the red here. So because we've seen Jiejie steal away the opposing red, He has his bot lane pick up his own. Jiejie's going to start up the Herald, but a contest is looking to come out here. And bot lane, neither side is anywhere near being able to contribute on this one.
Yeah, they're not going for, but Scout is off into the wings, so he's trying to see if someone just gets a little bit too close to that banana bush. You know, they're kind of getting a charm, another good combination, but nothing ends up happening. So we see a contest of the Rift Herald that does stop it, but at the end of it all, a red buff was secured by Viper, so he gets himself a nice little early buff that the AD carries don't tend to see, and EDG, again, just slowly trying to see if they can push and pull TT in different areas.
And I think the thing is, if we do end up getting a big fight over that Herald, it really comes down to execution. I feel like Jiejie holds so much weight in his hands with that Vi ultimate. If you can burst someone out before the fight starts, that kind of makes all the difference in being able to find a quick skirmish. Because if you have someone like Beichuan or Ucal who are slippery, who can survive for quite some time, if SouthWind gobbles someone out of your ultimate, that can really mitigate your ability to find a favorable team fight and find any pressure, in all honesty.
We're going to have a little bit of time. It's a bit of a slow burner there, Aux. We got a first blood at the top side, but that's about it. As much action as we currently have. And we're going to talk about, you know, where you know, we kind of see the LPL, I suppose. How's your LPL summer been so far? You know, exceeding expectations, or, you know, kind of where you thought it would be?
I feel like kind of exceeding expectations in some ways. Like, I thought RNG would have a slower start. I thought V5 would have a slower start due to Ricky not being here. You know, the fact that Dreams come in and be so strong has been kind of sick, ultimately. So, you know, I feel like it's been a pretty strong split so far, and I'm hyped for Worlds. We have so many teams, I think, that could potentially be contenders for those spots and would serve the LPL well.
You know what's the great thing, or the sad and great thing, is like we get MSI, and I'm like, yeah, I really wish this was Worlds. That's how I always feel every single year. It's like, I love MSI, but it's always just a moment or two of just like, it'd be great if this was the full, yeah, it just gives you a taste of international, and you just wish you had a little bit more. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, you know, what teams we have. And you know, we kind of have a, you know, a setup to see where we I had a little bit of a pause there. I did have our producer in our ear, but it was incredibly distorted. Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of teams. We have like 6 teams, in my opinion, that have a fairly solid chance of getting top 4. So it's going to be a bit of a battle, to say the least. But we do, of course, have a pause. We do apologize. We are, of course, going to see what the issue is. Thankfully, nothing too massive was happening at the moment, so it should be pretty easy to reset and nothing too untoward happened. But yeah,
it's always EDG. I don't know. I don't know if it's always EDG who are responsible for this pause, but EDG have had a lot of pauses so far this split. So perhaps could be another issue there. But yeah, I feel like in terms of looking towards Worlds, EDG are a team who by all means should be going to Worlds, right? Yeah. The fact that they've kept the same roster, this roster that won Worlds, again, you know, with 3 LCK teams in the semifinals, had to beat RNG to even make it to the semis. Like, I think Spring, a lot of people were sort of questioning how they've ended up in this position, especially when we still had like the playoff series where Scout was popping off, where Viper was still so solid throughout the split. And the fact that, you know, we're coming into the summer split, there's still some of those issues there.
We're back.
We're hoping EDG sort those out, fix them, and don't find the play. Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like you have Ucal walking up there to face check. If you just have Vi be the one to initially engage, you can't dodge the ult, and then it's a guaranteed charm.
Yeah, well, doesn't work out. Just going to go off on your point about who's going to be making it to Worlds and whatnot. Don't forget, we do, of course, have championship points. EDG only have 10. They only have 10 points from Spring, so they are they were 7th or, you know, 8th, I believe, 7th and or 8th in Spring after the playoffs. So not exactly a great start for the reigning world champions to try and defend their title. But again, we do expect them to have a little bit of a stronger showing. So you see, ooh,
oh my lord,
damage is a lot. Oh, okay, the heal and the Devourer has to come out right as Beichuan has started up this dragon. That means you don't really have priority, but Hoya is here. They go in, they do find the charm on the Beichuan, but he has to use the Cyclone, and then you get the Demonic Ascension. There is the ultimate as the dragon has been secured. EDG steal that away, so Jiejie gives his life for the objective. Meiko trying to see if he can maybe be a buffer right now as, oh my god, Viper just gets bounced around the house and gets taken down. TT, they lose the objective, but they gain themselves a kill advantage.
Yeah, EDG manages to secure it. Jiejie getting the smite, but honestly, credit to Hoya. He was the one who actually ended up blocking the charm. I said it would be a surefire thing, And we got to see... Oh, Hoya has flash, but so does Scout, so I don't think he'll go for the play. As I was saying, the Vial into the Charm should be a surefire thing. Jiejie and Scout have been so good on this, but we end up seeing Hoya blocking the Charm for Beichuan. And something we didn't mention earlier, so many plays have been taken by Puff and SouthWind, right? Viper and Meiko went for the red buff earlier and ended up losing a ton of plates for it. So we'll get the replay, and I'll kind of break down specifically why this didn't go well for EDG. They go for Beichuan here. Jiejie manages to give him no opportunity to press W, but the Charm ends up hitting Hoya. Beichuan gets his ult off, causes a disruption. As much as Jiejie manages to get the dragon, we do see the jungler for EDG go down, and Viper's quick to follow.
You can see there, Viper just getting thrown about the place. And the power that we talked about in the champ side, very difficult to burst down people in this composition, especially the longer it goes. The Wukong, the Swain, even, of course, everyone else, I can mention the entire team, they will just get tankier and tankier, harder to just take out. And honestly, Hoya has actually gone with a very interesting build. He's gone with the Night Harvester, so he's looking to completely 100-0 out someone.
Yeah, so the reason we're seeing this new Gragas build is we saw Gragas get some nice buffs to the AP ratio in his Q, some cooldown buffs to his Q and his E, but also we saw Night Harvester buff. It used to be 15 ability haste, it's now 25, and anyone who knows Gragas knows he loves ability haste. It's the fact that your E gets a flat 3-second reduction if you hit a unit, so with higher ability haste, it can be a very, very short cooldown, great against melee champions. And so he goes Night Harvester, CDR boots, and then he goes Ceres Embrace, because it gives ability haste for how much mana you have, so you're able to stack up a ridiculous amount very quickly and for quite a cheap amount.
Yeah, good economy there as Hoya now making his way back down. Jiejie still there. They know he's roughly somewhere in this area, but they're going to TP and fully committed to Hoya because remember, he has a Night Harvester. He's not going to be that tanky. He flashes away and gets the belly bop as well. The TP was actually cancelled. Scout did not quite get that one as imagined. The Never Move was used. Ucal is actually using his ultimate in the bot side as well. I can see that on the cooldown. So, TT, they survive a little bit of engage. They are still up in gold as we can have a look now at the picture-in-picture. This is just good heads-up play. Yeah, just really good heads-up play.
Yeah, I guess the ward being there. Scout didn't expect it. Ends up getting caught out and the TP being wasted. We do see the mandate build come out from Ucal. I know a lot of people have been critical of this. I feel like Leandri's, you know, everyone talks about this being higher damage, and it definitely is in the 1v1. The nice thing about mandate is not only is it cheap, but also you get movement speed every time you proc it. You know, like if your ally consumes the mark, you get extra movement speed. And one of the biggest issues Swain has is sticking on his targets, particularly a game like this where Scout and Viper are so mobile. Having that extra movement speed from the Swain can make all the difference. Plus, you don't have that many tanks on the enemy team. You don't have that many people who you get max Leandri's burn damage on. So I can kind of understand it, this situation. And obviously, you will be wanting to pick up that Rylai's later on just to ensure you have the permanent slow with your ultimate to keep applying those mandate procs.
And as well as that, like, you look at TT's composition, you don't really think the Swain is... It doesn't have to be the sole damage carry of his team. To be able to facilitate, to constantly be on top of people when he hits that 2-item spike with the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, to enable the Wukong and even the Gragas as well, is going to be very, very pivotal for the side of TT. But now Rift Herald has spawned again. As ADG are in the vicinity, the charm goes wide, as does the Orb of Deception, but... not to be outdone, TT looking to try and maybe get on top of Viper. He can dash over the wall, but that's down now for about 20 seconds. So you're in an opportunity here. They get the bounce back, and Jiejie gets completely finessed right there. Hoya on this Gragas has been fantastic.
Yeah, Hoya having a great debut. Just picks off the enemy jungler. Jiejie even burns flash, but can't get away. And TT able to pick up the mid-tier 1 as a result, I should think. Scout trying to have something to say about it, but isn't even close. The problem is, when TT are grouped up at this, like as 5, you don't have the damage to burst someone out quickly before TT can respond when they're all there. And even the squishy member Puff has a Tahm Kench just to keep you safe. Like if you commit the ultimate from the Vi or the charm from Scout, you commit forwards onto a target, you're just liable for them to be gobbled up. But now TT are posturing for this dragon. And with Jiejie only just spawning now, it's pretty difficult for EDG to contest this.
Yeah, very difficult. And they get the charm down. Excuse me, the root down. Beichuan actually in a bit of a trouble. SouthWind flashes away as well. They still have the Devour available to them. Jiejie has come back as the dragon is up and available. This would be soul point for here for EDG. The TT making sure they don't let this one go. Hoya still waiting for his ultimate. Actually, he's got his ultimate back, so he might go for another bit of an engage. You can just see how little this poke is landing on top of TT. With the Senna, you have so much sustain, and even in both nearly everyone's kind of kits, you have so much innate sustain.
Oh my lord,
that Viper
though.
damage, though, is doing a lot.
Yeah, Viper good at landing those, but obviously, as you said, the sustain from TT mitigating it. Bit of burst in return from the Q from Hoya. The big thing is Scout no longer has ult. They waited it out. That's why they disengaged. And EDG's team fight is so much weaker without Scout having that ult available. They're struggling to approach it. I think TT could just look for the fight, especially with Hoya on the flank here, ready to go.
Flandre is going to have Mega Gnar very, very soon. They jump onto Hoya. They can probably commit there, the ultimate as well, and they try and just burst him out, and it's exactly what they do. TT get the dragon, though, and they only lose one. Ucal does
Good
not
flash.
get caught out by Flandre, who's now a little bit caught out. He gets dragged back by the never move, and he jump back in with the Cyclone, but Beichuan, not exactly the best situation to be in. SouthWind now trying to run away, has got the grey health, just about keeps himself alive, but look at Viper. He's feeling confident as he's got Scout and the rest of EDG on the back of him saying, look, keep going, buddy. You know you can take him out. It's Viper picking up another kill, and now Puff and Ucal are kind of lost, a little bit afraid, and can just take out Viper. Ucal will fall for it. As you can see, a little bit of a flash forward. Puff is feeling confident. Puff is feeling good. Scout playing with the fog of war, but no, not quite able to make it work, and Puff somehow salvages that play.
Puff manages to redeem it, but man, it felt like I was getting deja vu with TT. They had the dragon, right? Yes, they lost Hoya, but they were out. Beichuan had flash. I thought, you know, he was waiting for his W to get over the wall, but then he decides to go in for the kill. Just completely unnecessary in the situation. Hoya is on that flank, gets spotted out and bursted. This is kind of what we're talking about with EDG's composition. Great at picking off single targets. And then here, Ucal has a great flash. And Beichuan, he has flash available. He also might be waiting for his W, but he should just be able to get over the wall. Instead goes in, you're against a Lulu. It's not going to happen. And this means EDG is now able to chase and pick up more kills. And honestly, if Puff hadn't made this big play, this could have been devastating for TT.
Yeah, could have been devastating. I will say, look at Puff in this fight as well. He really does just target priority so well. And then Scout just not recognizing he was on a ward. I will say, though, Viper might be the caught out now again. They're going to look for him. They're going to try and jump on top of him. They're going to use the explosive cast to make sure he cannot escape. SouthWind picks that one up, and all of a sudden, TT, they're picking up the pace.
Did a good job of finding these picks, honestly. Hoya grouping up with the team and making this happen. Downside is he is allowing them to lose farm in the side lane to this overgrouping, but they're now going to try and force Flandre to TP down to contest this one. A lot of sustain for TT. The Baron is still doing heavy damage.
I mean, Scout's there. Yes, you have a TP from Gnar, but he's exhausted. He's not going to have the Mega Gnar for quite a while. And Beichuan, though, taking up a little bit too much here. EDG very happy to walk in as they are very healthy. TT, I like the idea. You got the TP out of Flandre. Good decision to back away.
But look at the cost. Look at the waves. Massive wave crashing bot. Wave crashing mid as well. TT just going to lose so much gold on this just on the fact that the waves aren't in a good position. So yeah, they get a TP, but at what cost?
It's tough. And again, TT, we've talked about this before. They're very good until a point. And past 20 minutes, this is usually when they decide to try and throw things to the wind. Beichuan doing it in that last fight does feel a little bit... Flandre. Unfortunate, not getting over the wall. But for EDG, still not seeing a lot of great things coming out for them. Again, it feels like they're still relying on a little bit of the hands diff.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just a great play from TT, using that pocket of vision to get over. Hoya does miss the cast, but essentially meant that even if Viper moved down towards there, he would be knocked back in. And Viper, I feel like it's such a massive piece for this composition. He has the boosts from Meiko. Obviously, can give him movement speed. And with the Shirelias as well, like even more movement speed. So I feel like as much as Jiejie and Scout have that pick potential to catch off targets unawares, Viper is going to be doing a large amount of the work. And we started looking at some of the items coming in. Seraph's completed for Hoya, so he's going to have a ton of ability haste. We have the Rylai's for Ucal, so the mandate procs is so much easier to apply. Warmogs for Southwind. Wow. We're talking about the poke being an issue with Viper on the Zeri. Obviously, he's going to be able to weather that significantly easier.
Yeah, Minutail Dragon spawns. You will have pretty much all summoners available for both sides. Beichuan now going to recognize that Jiejie is in the area and probably assume that EDG are setting themselves up. Banshee's Veil has been finished up for Scout, so he's going to be a little less susceptible to getting caught out by tongue lashes or even roots from the Senna. And now we got to wait and see. I will say, got to give props to Puff. 3-0-3 on the Senna, really holding his own right now in this matchup. Again, against one of the best bot lanes in the world, specifically one of the best AD carries in the world. And he's doing very well to hold his own.
Yeah, and stacking up a fair bit of souls. And I think Viper's not quite at the big point with Zeri. You kind of want those 3 items, the IE increasing your zap damage, a big factor. But both teams posturing heavily for this one. EDG are the ones who have control of the Dragon area. Oh!
Ooh, Hoya. Don't know about that one, Chief. He does end up losing his ultimate and thought the belly bop. Maybe he thought he had the barrel there to try and maybe get rid of the Banshees. I'm not quite sure. But they do get
the ultimate play.
Yeah.
When
not quite
Scout
what
has
you want to see.
Banshees.
Yeah, not quite what you want to see. Puff will throw a ward over. Beichuan almost dead already before anything can happen. He actually has to smite the Raptors to try and keep himself healthy. They're going to have to back themselves away. So, Soul Point. Flandre flashes in, lands onto 3, and that's Beichuan just dead before the fight can really begin. Now, Ucal, can he do much with this? Swain, is he trying to see if he can take down Flandre, but he's too tanky. Now, Hoya, seeing if he can try and kite back from Viper, who's just keeping his distance ever so perfectly. A flash from Ucal means he's able to try and keep himself just at arm's length, but Scout's wrapping around, looking for more. They're going to land a little bit of poke, a little bit of a slow, and Scout's not willing to let them go. He'll know he's coming. He won't land the charm, though, and that means that EDG won't be able to find any more kills. It looked like it could have been a lot worse, but TT get away with it.
Yeah, they don't want to chase more where they don't have vision. Obviously, face checking to the Gragas again could be risky. And it just ends up being a bit of a messy fight there, and that's one of the concerns into this EDG composition is the chase down potential. You see here, the slow from Flandre into the W from Viper just takes the fight out of Beichuan. He has to back away. And then Flandre finds his window, ends up being able to burst out the Wukong before he even pops ultimate. SouthWind trying to get in range to gobble and just not able to get there in time. And then TT kind of know they're not going to be able to continue this fight. We see the eat from Tahm Kench save Hoya. But at this point, it's just kind of EDG trying to chase them down, using that ability, using Viper's ramping speed.
You can see just how much this Zeri is able to do in those extended fights as well. Just constantly, as you say, getting that ramping speed, getting those Qs down, and really being a nuisance in the backside of TT. And for EDG, it now equals about a 1,500 gold lead, which doesn't seem like a lot, but they do have the 3 dragons as well, so they are working themselves towards the Cloud Soul. The Baron is still on the table and up for anyone to really try and take, as we have a quick moment to wait for EDG to honestly start setting themselves up for this Baron. They really want to try and, you know, put a nail in this coffin that is TT's.
Yeah, I think EDG can honestly play it slow. I think one of the things that's important for them is the fact that they have Soul potentially on the cards. And a lot of people like to diss Cloud Soul. I actually think it's pretty big here when you have compositions that a lot of the way they interact with each other is based on movement speed, right? With Viper being able to kite so effectively and ramping movement speed with the ultimate. The ultimate not only gives you a burst, but you also get that flat 10% movement speed increase. It can be the difference between Ucal staying in range of you and slowing you and constantly dealing damage and just kite him around and him never really being able to get in range.
Yeah, it can be a pretty big game changer should EDG be able to secure it. It is 2.5 minutes away, so a bit of time before then. You've got TT now looking to see what they can make work. They can't really contest Flandre in a side lane anymore. You can see Hoya needs to be with his team. He's the primary damage dealer in this composition. He's going to be the burst that catches out Viper if they can find him. So he needs to be with his team. And right now, TT is still doing a very good job of just catching out everything, you know, that EDG have put down, getting all that vision, and making sure they can maybe clear out a little bit more and be a little bit secure in their own jungle.
I think one of my concerns as well is the side lane. Flandre is getting so strong, and he's building towards the...
Oh, Ucal. Oh, Ucal. I think Jiejie might actually feel this one here. He's going to go over the wall. You got to imagine. Yep, there it is. He's not even going to ult. Never mind, he is. And Flandre will pick that one up. No questions asked. Jiejie has been looking decent on this Vi and really picking his moments. But Ucal, again, just getting caught in a side lane. It's kind of a repeat of every single series for TT.
And here's the kind of problem is that we have a situation where both solo laners for TT are AP. Both of them are going to be really struggling to deal with the Gnar when Gnar does have that force of nature. And so as a result, I don't think there's anyone who can comfortably handle him.
There is not. We are going to see them pushing in towards that mid lane and kind of, again, just setting up shop around this top half of the map and saying, look, either the Baron or the Dragon will take either, if not both. So for EDG, pretty easy pickings right now. And honestly, I think, as much as we were kind of, asking for EDG to improvements, there was still issues in this game for sure. But I think Flandre has been given kind of the run of the mill. And even though we said we wanted to see him step up, he hasn't 100% given us everything he wanted to. But on this Gnar, he really is showing how comfortable he is on this pick.
Yeah, taking the pick away from Hoya and then really working well on it, and being just a thorn in the side, being a massive threat in team fights. I think Gnar is such a powerful pick on the current patch. Now we do have EDG grouping up. They're not on the dragon first, and we do actually see a TP coming in from Hoya, looking for a bit of a flank angle. Remember, we did say TT have that strong team fight if they can stay on top of EDG, and they're looking right now.
Yeah, they're looking for it. They're going to have to try and go for it. There's the Vi ultimate to try and set it up. Nice isolation of Meiko as they try and jump onto the Lulu, but he's still a Lulu, which means he still has the sustain to keep himself alive. The Gragas and the Wukong have fallen. SouthWind is getting so as far away as possible because Viper is just tearing through this team. He is moving forward so confidently, knowing that nobody can take him down. He's just shy of landing a couple of those Qs, but at the end of it all, it's still all EDG, and they'll get themselves the soul.
Man, and I felt like with Meiko getting cast in like that, I thought it was a sure thing. I feel like you're picking off the Lulu, denying all that peel, but Meiko manages to somehow survive, and then EDG are there for the cleanup. Flandre, once again, massive, but Viper, we're talking about a 3-item spike that Ahri completed, just such a massive threat for TT, and they just don't have the answers. We'll see the replay, and Hoya does a fantastic job. There's question mark pings coming in, they do spot him out, but this play gets the cask onto Meiko. And I think Puff was just backing away here. Doesn't actually hit Meiko, so he ends up surviving. Beichuan trades his life, and then Hoya isn't actually that tanky. Gets slammed to the wall, just deleted. And this is the point where EDG are just able to chase down and clean up.
Yeah, and you see that it's just so hard once the Zeri gets ramped up like that to really try and do anything. But look at the damage from Viper as well. 5,200 in that last team fight. And it's just so difficult for anyone to really contest him.
I was talking about this coming out of the draft. It's like, I like TT's composition, but Viper Zeri, I feel like that's enough. That's enough. And now with the Cloud Soul, that extra movement speed, he's going to be a menace. You already are getting a massive buff from your ultimate when you start stacking up. Meiko's giving you extra movement speed. You have 10% flat from the Cloud Soul. And also, the fact you get that extra burst when you pop your ultimate means, like, obviously with Zeri, you normally have to stack up the movement speed. That burst at the start means you can kind of bridge the gap. So you get a burst of speed, you start stacking up your ult speed, and then you're just going to be lightning fast the entire team fight.
I love this from the side of EDG. They just said, all right, double black lever. The more armor we can shred off of these people on TT, the better it is for Viper. It means he can go for pure damage like we've seen. He's going pure crit as of the moment. And yeah, again and again, we're seeing that, yes, the Wukong is a fantastic pick, but the Zeri is just that little bit better. Dawning Shadow, just to try and scout out this Baron scout, is off to the side. They know roughly that he's there. Now they know exactly that he's there. As Flandre almost stacked up to the Mega as he's going to try and jump on the Southwind. That's the Tahm Kench. He's very tanky, but he will just start to get shredded down as the rest of TT just have to walk away as EDG just 5-man him. Hoya is going to go golden, but only for a moment as Viper picks up 2, and Viper is just tearing everyone on TT. An absolute new one. Triple kill for Viper on the Zeri, and this game is done.
Man, Viper's just something else. It is such a pleasure watching him on a high-skill champion like Zeri, a champion where even your auto attacks in quotation marks are skill shots, right? Your Qs have to connect them consistently, and it just feels like he can't miss. W feels like a point-and-click skill, and Viper is just completely on form. EDG should just be able to close this one out.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow burner at the start. It did take a little while to pick up the pace, but eventually EDG found their winning formula, and TT will fall 1-0 down now in this series as EDG just trying to find back their form.
I mean, Viper Zeri, you can't let him have it. You cannot let him have it, especially with Meiko on an enchanter there to buff him up. The Cloud Soul was kind of the nail in the coffin, but yeah, I feel like we've talked about TT having that early lead and then fumbling. This felt like it wasn't as much of like a specific, there's a fumble moment. This felt like EDG were just in prime position to be able to take over the game. Yes, it was definitely closer in the early levels, but when it came to those team fights, when Viper hit his spikes, he just didn't feel like they could match them. And the other note was the Gnar in the side lane, ended up level 16 when Hoya was 14. They tried to send Ucal in to match him. Didn't work. Hoya obviously couldn't comfortably match him. There just wasn't a good answer.
Yeah, no good answer from TT. And it did come down to, yes, some very good early game moves coming out from TT, but I feel like you said, it wasn't a big egregious mistake that let them away with it. It just felt like the game plan from EDG was just better. I think Hoya, yes, going for the AP Gragas is fine, but if you can't find those engages, if you can't burst out those targets, and we saw a perfect example of that where they just could not kill Meiko, they couldn't quite get the Lulu because of all the extra healing and shielding that she had available to her. It just doesn't really work out for you because your initial burst is fantastic. Your DPS after that is kind of lacking.
Yeah, and it felt like as well, they just couldn't get on top of Viper and stay on top of Viper. You know, they had those picks, but in the team fights, it felt like his positioning was just not able to really challenge. And the problem is in those extended fights, it was the side of EDG who were favoring. It was the Viper who was ramping up, Scout able to chase down targets. So yeah, back to the drawing board. Ultimately, TT still struggling quite a bit in the mid to late game, but with a stronger early, kind of not as egregious as we've seen before, but still quite clear that EDG were the stronger side. And we can see it in the gold graph, right? There's a point where there's a 2k gold lead for TT, but then it kind of just hit that point where EDG took over. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about that damage graph. That it's just, yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah. You go full damage on the Gragas and you still don't do even as much as the Senna. It does feel a little bit bad there for Hoya. But again, this is,